What's going on, traders? Varun here from Cryptoducator, and I'm here to bring you another crypto market update. Now, I do think we do have a lot of things to speak of today as we see dominance slipping its way down, and I do think that altcoins are shaping up for kind of like a legitimate bounce on these regions. So let's get right onto it. Starting off with the BTC USD price action on the BitMEX. I do think that this entire situation or this entire formation is nearing a maturity point and it will probably break out sooner than later, and we do have good targets as we jump onto the smaller time frames in this structure, which is going to be this beautiful formation of inverse head and shoulder. I personally refrain from trading the patterns, but this kind of looks like to me as a legitimate head and shoulder, as we do have a lot of things kind of matching up with how this thing is shaping up to be. So if we do think, if we do have this entire structure to be playing out to the upside, we do have clear targets all the way to the previous high, which was somewhere near 12,250 regions, which would kind of lead us to the breakout of this entire structure to the upside. I'm going to be resolving this entire triangle, in fact, to the upside. If we try to bring about the confluences from the weekly time frame, however, now as you have been watching my videos, I am kind of talking about this entire thing from a different perspective. I am not looking this as a descending triangle. I'm looking at it as an ascending triangle, which has an apex all the way at February 2020. Long way to go, but I do believe that Bitcoin can get reaccumulated in these regions and can have a breakout to the upside, kind of like a continuation to all this previous price action and whatever we have found before. So yeah, the price can definitely be chopping around these regions. Now here's the thing, I do stand by this prediction as far as we are closing weekly candles above the 21 moving average, which is kind of significant. You all must be sure by now, being Bitcoin traders, 21 moving average, everybody knows. So that's why I'm kind of skeptical as to what is going to happen next. Although as far as we are trying to close weekly candles above it, I stay bullish. My posture is going to be lying towards the upside. Jumping on to the Bitcoin dominance. Alright, starting off with the weekly time frame, a couple of weeks ago we had a good closure above the 200 weekly moving average on the dominance, which is kind of significant, which really determines the trend and the strength behind the price action. However, you can't really chart the dominance, but it's been playing perfectly fine. So as far as it's maintaining its posture, we can consider this bullish, and we have a few weekly candle closure above the 200, which is definitely good in the midterm. However, if we slip on to the daily time frames, we have some kind of rejection going on. We did attempt a bounce, but ultimately getting rejected and closing below the 21 moving average again on the daily time frame. The price action can, actually the dominance action can get reaccumulated in these zones and can make its way up and again. But can't be sure of these things, as we do have this closure below the 21. Some of the altcoins are actually setting up for a legitimate bounce. I'll dive into the first candidate, which is going to be EOS. I have a few things to talk about EOS, as EOS has kind of been a leading indicator for the altcoin market. It pumps first, it dumps first, and it kind of sets the pace as to where the alternative coins are headed to in the short term, midterm, or not exactly the long term, the short term and the midterm for sure. Let's have a look at EOS Bitcoin pairing. Yeah, right off as I open the price action in EOS, what do I see? We have divergence all across the board. We have good volume candles closing above the 21 first, making its way to 55, rejecting it in the first go, but then huge volume, huge breakout, a closure above the 55 moving average. Things are kind of shaping up for the price action to head on towards the 100 moving average on the daily time frame. It's kind of setting up for that. It's definitely looking nice. If not the entire picture, of course, but if you look at the extreme short term, I do think that things are kind of shaping up for the price action to test the 100 simple moving average on the daily time frame, which is currently at 46,000 sats. Definitely a good target. Let's check out the major move. Yeah, almost 17% gains to the upside, which could be aligning with a few of the previous trend lines. Going back all the way to March of 2018, taking this as a closure, taking that as a closure, and ultimately the last point of contact, which was a rejection, steep rejection, after which we started building divergence all across the board. Okay, so if you look at this resistance trend line, it is kind of aligning perfectly with the 100 moving average on the daily time frame. In the short term, things are kind of shaping up for this 17% up move. However, I personally would not be really taking this trade, but I do think that we will be making our way all the way to these regions and testing these levels as resistance, as I do think that this area is going to be playing, it's going to be a significant resistance zone. Breaking above it and closing above it would eventually lead us to the 200 daily moving average, which is really far, which is kind of which is like 75% from the current posture. But to reach there, we first have to start closing candles above the 100 moving average and retest that thing as support. Then we can talk about the price action going to the 200 moving average. Alright, that's been I think that's been it for EOS BTC. Quickly jumping on to the next one, we have Ethereum on Bitcoin. Similar posture. This is from Binance. So yesterday we had a huge rejection of any price action below the 21 moving average, and resulting in a massive wick. I think this can be clearly seen in the smaller time frames. Yeah, we had this massive 4-hour rejection candle, rejecting a lot of moving averages, and this is kind of giving a bull cross. The 100 and the 55 simple moving average are actually giving a good bull cross and are diverging from each other. In this present situation, we have 21 moving average crossing the 55 and the 100 and maintaining a posture above it. Now there is one thing which we want to be looking at in the small, I'm talking about the small time frames, as we are in the 4-hour time frame. If you look at this 21 moving average trying to close above the 200 moving average, everything in the 4-hour time frame closes above it, starts kind of deviating away, then we can expect some kind of bullish continuation to the upside. However, the current posture is also nice, is kind of strengthful, rejecting the bottom prices. And as far as the time frame goes for the current posture, we are maintaining the prices above the 200 moving average. Ethereum Bitcoin price action, interesting to see. Definitely assuring that we do have some kind of strength going on, and well, this is a big divergence which can be looked at on the daily time frame. I believe it's this point and this point. On the price action, we have this and this point. So this is like massive divergence, definitely good divergence. On the oscillators, we have the rate of strength taking support from the exponential moving average, and the stochastics are aggressively pointed upwards, which kind of concerns me, because in an overall bear trend, this is where the stochastics are kind of in the rejection zone, and sellers could kind of run out of momentum. But as far as the dominance kind of starts consolidating and heading down, we can expect the price action in the Bitcoin pairings to actually make its way to the upside. Kind of interesting. Now even if we have this divergence, it can be the fact that the most of the divergence has already been played out can be definitely considered on these levels, as we have jumped for nearly 13.6%, which is a good move. Definitely in a bear trend. You want to be selling the resistance, you want to be selling the moving averages, but as far as we are closing candles above the 21 moving average, this thing is good to go. Currently looking to test the 55 moving average, which is at 0.01888 BTC per Ethereum. I do expect that we can make our way to that zone, and eventually closing above it would lead us to the 100 moving average, kind of aligning with the previous area of interest. Closing above that would lead us to the 200 moving average, which is kind of far-fetched as of the current posture and the current stature. So if we start closing candles first above the 55 moving average and then above the 100 moving average, then we can talk about the 200 moving average on the daily time frame. All right, what do we have next? Okay, we're getting on to Zcash. Interesting little shitcoin, the privacy coin, which is going to change the world, right? Interestingly enough, we have similar kind of posture as to EOS and Ethereum, not on the stronger side, but things are kind of shaping up as the stochastics are kind of aggressively pointing upwards, and we have a lot of room to run to the upside. Definitely we do have a lot of space to go to the upside. The strength index is kind of taking a good support from the exponential moving average, which is good to look at. So this posture is kind of bullish. Can't deny that this current posture. Bullish can't be the right word, because this entire asset is in a prolonged bear trend. So short-term bounce is what I would like to call this entire move as we do have a lot of divergence going on between a lot of points, and well, kind of depends on how today's candle is going to be closing. If it closes above the 21 moving average, I can expect some kind of follow through, because we have clearly not closed a candle above the 21 moving average for a very long time. The last time we actually closed a candle was somewhere around June. It's been 3 months, and for the first time we are actually having a strong interaction with the 21 moving average, with all the oscillators kind of shaping up to the upside, which is nice. So today's close is going to be significant, and if we have if this current candle closes like this, I can definitely expect some kind of follow through to the upside, testing the 55 moving average, which is currently located at 0.0052 BTC per Zcash, which can be measured like this, 15% up move. As you can see, all across the altcoins, we do have 15, 17, 20% moves lining up, with the fact that the dominance is kind of going down, and these things can definitely pull off these moves. How do you trade these things? You trade by taking the invalidation points. Now, if you do come back to test these zones again and we start closing the candles below it, well, then your entire up move is kind of invalidated, and bulls will kind of lose their strength, and the momentum would start shifting to the downside. Now, as far as we are maintaining this area of interest, and if we do close candles above the 21 moving average, you can expect a continuation. So Zcash, definitely a lot of reward opportunity going on, as this thing has been constantly selling off. Never stops. This thing never stops selling off. But however, in the extremely short time frame, I do see that the price is likely to be testing these regions at the 55 moving average. Heading on to our next contestant, which is Litecoin, selling off massively rapidly after the halvening. Similar posture, closing above the 21 move. The last candle was kind of closing above it. Good to look at. Let's kind of do this for a little fun. If considering this point to be as a bottom, we're gonna test it the 0.5 level with perfection. Literally wicking up to these levels and getting bought back up and showing immediate follow through with the candle closure above the 21 moving average. Nice to have a look at it like this. And if Litecoin is actually looking to maintain the this present price action and is closing above the 21 moving average, then yet again I see an up move towards the 55 moving average, which is kind of like 10%. Well, not much of reward as compared to the other altcoins, but definitely 10 to 12% trade potential going on in these regions. And quickly moving on to Cardano. Cardano is kind of like on the weaker part as of today. Can't guarantee this, but the previous candle was kind of rejection of the price action below the previous two candles of the preceding candle. So for the current posture, we do want to be looking at a few candle closure above the 21 moving average for this thing to actually pop up to 55 first. If we start closing above 55, then 100 is on the charts. Now I do think that it's got it's comparatively got less reward opportunity. That's why traders, bots and algorithms are not really interested in trading Cardano to the Bitcoin pairing. Now understand this, because the moving average is not that far, so the reward opportunity naturally goes down. 55 moving average is only 8.5% away, whereas the 100 moving average is kind of far, which is nearly 36%, 37%, aligning up with the previous resistance like a lot of other altcoins. So the first step would be closure above 460 satoshis. For a little short-term bullish posture, we got to be closing above 416 sats and then above 500 sats for a continuation move all the way to 620 sats. Okay, going on to Tron, everybody's favorite, TRX. Kind of like, okay, so Tron is absolutely like Cardano, currently rejecting off of the 21 moving average, and yet again we want to be looking at candles closing above the 21 moving average for the way to 55 and, well, the 100 moving average. Now the 200 daily moving average is significantly far off from the current price action, which could be looked at as a good risk to reward opportunity, as it is nearly 136% away from the 200 moving average, right, and is massively oversold. Let's see if we do have any divergence. We can simply take these points and we can conclude with the fact that RSI is kind of maintaining a trend. The strength is maintaining a trend and it's getting bought back up from the oversold regions, and the current posture states that we are above the exponential moving average on the RSI. The black line is the RSI, by the way, if these things are kind of confusing to you. The stochastics are aggressively crossed to the upside. I do think that we should have some kind of follow through, at least a closure of the 21. Then we can think of some other bullish moves. Okay, quickly jumping on to XRP. Ripple in the house for you people. XRP BTC. Yeah, again somewhat similar to Cardano and Tron, kind of trying to close above the 21 moving average, and is definitely having a weaker posture than the previous altcoins that I just had a look at. Again, we want to be looking at a candle closure above the 21 moving average at first. That is going to be the first step. You can't really think of any bullish trade if you want to be taking any long opportunity in these regions. The first and the foremost thing that you want to be looking at is a closure of the 21 moving average, and this is kind of attempting to do that. We should probably have a resolution of this entire structure by this coming week, I guess. Closing above the 55 would lead us to 100 moving average, which is somewhere around 3,200 sats, and yet again the 200 daily moving average is kind of far. It's actually pretty deviated. Not that much as compared to Tron, but we do have 90% deviation from the 200 moving average, so which can be suggestive of the fact that we could be looking at some kind of up move. However, the first and foremost step, like every other shitcoin, is a closure above the 21 moving average. Let's see how this particular asset performs. All the best XRP, and all the best to the XRP army. Alright, so special candidate for today is going to be Ethereum against the US dollar price action. Now, I do think that all the US dollar pairs, they do follow Bitcoin price action, but now since there is something going on in the BTC pairing as well, combining it with the US dollar pairing, we can definitely conclude with something interesting going on. So let's have a look at Ethereum USD on Bitfinex. Going on to the daily, definitely setting up for a good posture. Although we are right beneath a bear cross between the 200 and the 55, which the higher time frames are kind of suggesting that we do test the 200 daily moving average and get rejected, because we do have bearish cross across borders, and the price is kind of below a lot of moving averages. So definitely a lot of work to be done if the price is really willing to head to the upside, as we do have massive resistance going on, first at the $200 regions, well, $196 to be precise. So we can definitely expect some kind of rejection on these levels. However, closing above it would kind of lead us to $205 US regions, kind of aligning with the previous resistance. Closing above it, certainly the 100 moving average, which is at $230. Well, as far as the momentum oscillators go, the RSI is still strengthful. The stochastics are still aggressively pointed upwards, but yet again, in a bear trend, any stochastic up move is most likely a sell indicator, which makes me kind of agnostic, and which makes me kind of not 100% confident on the Ethereum US dollar pairing, as well, the stochastic is kind of in the overbought territories. However, as far as we are maintaining a posture above the 21 moving average on the daily time frame, you're allowed to take bullish trades. In fact, I mean, your invalidation would be simply a closure below the 21 moving average, right? As simple as it can get. All right. So I think that's been it for today's update, and I think I've covered most of the major assets across the crypto market, and I do think that you have gained some kind of value out of it. And if you think that this video made a lot of sense to you, leave a thumbs up. leave a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye bye.